Hello everyone, we're back. This is going to be a quick video rundown of Exercise 1. So, to get started, as always, open your Epic Games launcher. And awkward silence. Okay, so finally, we're here. And go to the Unreal Engine tab. It's over on the left-hand side. And from here, go to Library. Hopefully this is all looking pretty familiar to you. Now, hopefully everyone has 4.27 installed. If you do not, go back to the previous lesson and work on getting that installed. If you have any problems, just send me an email or ask me over Zoom. But I'm assuming from this point on that we all have 4.27 installed. So click Launch. And then we're going to create a new level in 4.27, or a new project, and eventually a new level, but a new project to start with. This is going to take a little while. Most of you who've been sitting through the labs are probably familiar with this process. Taking a while. Okay, and here we are finally. So from this point, and this probably looks familiar to most of you, I'm going to go ahead and select games. We're going to always just start with games. It's got all the stuff that we need. And select template. I talked about this briefly before, but a template is basically a blank level with additional stuff. That's specific to the type of template you're using. So, for example, the virtual reality template, which we use in the lab, has the virtual reality pawn, which is the thing that controls the camera. It has the hand tracking built in with the ability to grab stuff, and it has the demo level. So for home stuff, because most of you don't have VR headsets, we're going to be working with the first person template. And then when we create projects in the lab, we'll be creating them using the virtual reality template. So it's really important to get that straight. As this is an exercise for home, we'll start with the first person template. Click Next. We're just going to leave all this stuff as the default. We want blueprints, and there's two different methods for creating scripts in Unreal. One is just programming in like C++, I believe, or C#, and one is blueprints, which is like a visual scripting language. So we want that easy. Max quality, ray tracing disabled, desktop console, no starter content. So the basics. And then here is where we can select our project storage location. I'll let you decide where you want your home projects to be stored, just kind of keep it consistent. And for this project, we are going to name it Exercise 1 and 2. And let's go ahead and create project. This is likely to take a little while too, so I'm going to go ahead and pause it. Okay, and so here we are in our demo scene. So it automatically loads up the demo level for you. And if you watched last week's videos, you're at least somewhat familiar with the interface of Unreal. If you haven't watched those, pause this video, go through that video, and it's the training session at the Epic Games training website. And then when you're done with that, come back and start this one over. So first off, let's kind of navigate around. This panel right here is just sort of a review. It's sort of your main work window, sort of like your main viewport in something like Max. You can use the middle mouse button to scroll in, Alt and left click with the mouse to rotate the camera, middle mouse button to pan. And if you do this, you may find that it's a little weird. Like for me, the direction is opposite. I don't know if everyone feels that way, but the default for me definitely feels weird. So I'm going to go ahead and change that here. Watch carefully. You don't have to do this if you find the middle mouse pan to be acceptable. I find it to be unacceptable. So we're going to dig a little deep into Editor Preferences. Go down to Viewports. And invert middle mouse pan. Yes. And okay, you don't have to remember that, but if you are like me and you find this way of middle mouse pan to be more to your liking, feel free to just slowly go through the steps of that and do that. So for the first exercise, what I would like you to do is get used to putting objects into your viewport, manipulating them, meaning moving them, scaling them, rotating them, and then launching into first person mode and just kind of investigating your scene. Kind of a simple, let's modify this scene. And in order to do that, we're going to go up to this panel over here, the modes panel, which is set to place actors now. And we're going to go to basic. And then we're going to use these guys, cube, sphere, cylinder, and cone, to sort of populate our scene. And all we have to do is left click, drag, and now we can manipulate it. So we have the manipulator, the move, on here. It's in the keyboard shortcuts for that are basically the same as Maya and I believe Max. So W for move, E for rotate, and R for scale. So what we do is move this around, scale it up, and then rotate your view around. Basically, it's get used to moving around in Unreal and get used to dragging stuff into the scene and make something that's kind of interesting to go and explore. There's no like set number of things you have to use, but just have fun with it. Play around until you basically feel comfortable doing this. One little trick to remember is if you want to duplicate something that's in this main viewport, Alt and then drag, and it duplicates it. And I believe that's the same as Max, or something similar in Max. So, okay, I just built some random stuff. Now I want to try it out. So we'll go up to our play button, make sure that it's selected viewport. When we work in the lab, we bring this down to VR preview, but for here we're just using the first person camera setup, so we're just going to hit play, and now we can move around in our viewport. And if you're familiar with first person shooters, the controls are pretty basic. W, A, S, D, which is W forward, A, strafe left, D, strafe right, S, walk backwards, and then mouse to rotate the camera, and spacebar to jump. Trigger to shoot things. And you'll notice our objects aren't moving. They're not set up to be physics enabled like this, but they do have collision, which is something we'll talk more about later. But that's an important thing to consider. Yahoo! So when you're done, hit escape. It'll take you back into the main viewport. And go ahead and keep playing around. So basically just do this until you feel comfortable navigating around. Have some fun with it. And then when you feel like you've done enough, go ahead and save and exit, and then we'll move on to exercise 2.